She walked into Judge Judy's courtroom thinking she had everything under control. A confident smirk, a designer handbag, and $10,000 in cash tucked away like a secret weapon. What Karen didn't realize was that one reckless choice, one split-second lapse in judgment, would end up costing her not thousands, but $50,000. And it didn't happen behind closed doors. It happened on national television. The moment Judge Judy learned about the bribe attempt, the air in the courtroom shifted. Her expression went stone cold, her voice dropped, and in that instant, Karen's fate was locked in. No warnings, no second chances. But here's the part most people don't know. This wasn't just about the money. Because what happened after the bribe was exposed turned this case into a complete disaster. And nobody, especially Karen, saw it coming. The camera glides across the polished courtroom floor, catching a flash of gold before it finds her. Karen, head high, smile sharp, confidence dripping from every step she places on the tile. She walks as if justice is a stage, and she is tonight's headliner, as if nothing in this room could dare interrupt the performance she has already decided she deserves. Her handbag swings lightly at her side, its leather shimmering under the studio lights. Most people would clutch a purse like that, but not Karen. She lets it dangle, carefree, like someone who believes the universe bends toward her convenience. She slides into her spot at the defendant's table, smoothing her hair with a slow, deliberate motion. The kind of motion meant to be watched. Judge Judy is not even in the room yet, but Karen behaves as though she has already won. Across the aisle, the plaintiff sits with folded hands and lowered eyes. A quiet presence. A steady presence. The kind that reminds you why courtrooms exist in the first place. He shifts in his seat, fingers brushing the edge of a worn folder, the weight of the dispute visible in his posture. He glances toward Karen, just once, then looks away quickly when her smirk widens. The audience notices it. The bailiff notices it. The cameras certainly notice it. The doors open. The room rises. Judge Judy steps in with the deliberate calm of someone who has seen every trick, every lie, every ego-led disaster imaginable. She sits, surveys the courtroom, and her gaze lands on Karen with an accuracy that feels surgical. Karen sits taller, almost proud to be observed. She does not realize the danger in that. The first words spoken are not from Judy. They come from Karen, under her breath, a quiet scoff coated in arrogance. The microphones almost miss it, but the tone slips through, a tone that says she believes she is smarter than the process, that she believes she is smarter than Judy. Judy raises one eyebrow, the smallest gesture. But it feels like a lightning strike. The air shifts, a subtle tightening, the kind of silence that does not simply fill the room, but claims it. Karen reaches into her designer handbag, slow, casual, confident. She pulls her hand back for a moment, then slides it inside again, fingertips grazing something flat, rectangular, and hidden beneath folded receipts. Her eyes flicker downward, then upward, meeting the judge's stare with a spark of defiance. She is not nervous. She is not cautious. She is certain. Too certain. Judge Judy notices the motion, her expression still unreadable. The plaintiff watches, swallowing hard, sensing something wrong. The bailiff shifts his stance, one foot angled toward Karen's table, as if his body already understands what his mind does not. And as Karen's fingers close around the envelope tucked inside her bag, the real storm begins. She lifts the envelope just enough to see its edge, just enough for Judge Judy to see it too, and the judge's eyes narrow. The envelope does not leave her hand at first. It rests between her fingers, the corner just barely visible, like a secret daring someone to discover it. Karen holds it loosely, almost carelessly, as if nothing inside could possibly cause trouble. As if trouble itself should be grateful to meet her. Judge Judy notices the shift before anyone else. Her gaze flicks toward the bag, sharp as a blade. She does not speak. She does not need to. Silence becomes its own warning. But Karen does not feel warned. She feels clever. Her lips curve into a small, satisfied smile as she taps the envelope against the edge of the table. A rhythmic, almost playful gesture. The plaintiff watches with confusion, tightening his brow, unsure of what he is seeing, unsure of why the air seems to thicken around them. The bailiff takes one step closer. Karen glances at him, then at the judge, then back to the envelope, a spark of mischief dancing behind her eyes. She thinks she holds the advantage. She thinks she understands the game. What she does not understand is that Judge Judy does not play games. The judge shifts her weight forward, hands folding neatly on the bench. The movement is small, but it pulls the entire room into focus. Even the cameras seem to lean in, waiting. "Ms. Harper," Judy says, voice steady and low, "is there something you wish to bring to my attention?" Karen freezes, then quickly recovers. Her smile sharpens. "Yes, Your Honor," she replies lightly. "Just something to make this smoother." Smoother. The word lands wrong. The plaintiff stiffens. Karen begins sliding the envelope forward with one polished fingertip, inch by inch, until it crosses the invisible line of courtroom etiquette. The envelope shines under the fluorescent lights, the thickness unmistakable, the suggestion unmistakable. The room holds its breath. Karen thinks she is being subtle. She is not. Judy's eyes follow the envelope as it drifts across the desk, like a challenge in slow motion. Her face remains perfectly still, but something colder settles into her gaze. Something that makes even the air hesitate. The bailiff clears his throat, stepping closer yet again, shoulders squared. He is ready long before anyone else knows why. Karen pushes the envelope the final inch. It comes to rest directly beneath the judge's line of sight. There is no whisper. There is no explanation. Just the quiet confidence of someone who believes the world will always bend for her. Judy reaches out. One finger, then another. She lifts the envelope with the same care she would give to a fragile piece of evidence. Karen beams, proud of herself, proud of what she thinks she is accomplishing. But Judy does not open it. Not yet. She holds it in midair, eyes locked on Karen with a stare so still, so deliberate, that the room begins to feel colder by the second. And then Judy asks, "Are you sure you want me to see what is inside this?" Karen's smile flickers, barely, but enough, just as Judge Judy begins to break the seal on the envelope. The paper seal breaks with a soft, crisp sound, a sound that feels louder than it should, a sound the entire courtroom seems to hear. Judge Judy slides a single finger beneath the flap and opens the envelope with the same slow precision a surgeon uses on a patient who is not expected to survive. She does not look down. She watches Karen the entire time, studying every flicker of expression. Karen pretends not to notice. She sits straighter, smiles wider, but her foot taps once beneath the table, a pulse of anxiety she cannot quite control. The plaintiff does not blink. His hands rest against the edge of his folder, knuckles pale. He senses something shifting, something dangerous, but he does not yet understand the scale of what is unfolding. Judy finally lowers her eyes. Inside the envelope is money. A thick stack, crisp and neat, bound with a band that seems to glow beneath the harsh court lights. A stack that does not belong in any courtroom for any reason except one. She lifts it, just enough for everyone to see. The air turns cold in an instant. Karen's breath catches, but she masks it quickly with a soft, dismissive laugh. The kind of laugh someone uses when they want to pretend everything is normal, even when the world beneath their feet has begun to crack. "It is just a gesture, Your Honor," she says, voice warm, sugar-coated, but trembling around the edges. "I thought maybe we could, simplify things." Simplify. The word slices through the room like a blade. Judy sets the money down slowly. The bills fan out slightly, like feathers from a wounded bird. She leans forward, elbows resting on the bench, her gaze narrowing with a precision that could freeze fire. "A gesture," she repeats, voice soft but heavy enough to sink the room into deeper silence. Karen swallows. The cameras zoom in on her face. The audience leans forward. The plaintiff looks from Karen to Judy, then back again, as if hoping he is misunderstanding what he just witnessed. Judy does not raise her voice. She does not need to. "What," she asks, "made you think this would work on me?" The question lands like a stone dropped in still water. The ripples are instant. Karen opens her mouth, then closes it again, the first visible fracture in her manufactured confidence. She searches for words, excuses, anything that might soften the blow. But Judy continues before she can speak. More importantly, she says, lifting the envelope again, what exactly did you hope to purchase? Karen's jaw tightens. She shifts in her seat. The bailiff steps closer, his presence suddenly significant. The plaintiff watches Karen with a bewildered sorrow, as though witnessing someone dig their own grave grain by grain. Judy turns to her clerk with a calm severity that says everything. Bring me the file, she says. The real one. The room stiffens. Karen's eyes widen. The clerk places a thick, sealed case file in front of Judge Judy, and Judy's thumb pauses on the edge as she says, there is something in here Ms. Harper hoped would never be seen. The file hits the bench with a soft thud, but the sound feels heavier than anything that has come before it. The folder is thick, its edges worn, its corners bent from the weight of truth pressed inside. Judge Judy rests her hand on it for a moment, not opening it yet, letting the tension breathe, letting Karen feel the gravity gathering around her like a tightening storm. Karen shifts in her chair. A small movement, barely noticeable, but the kind of movement people make when they suddenly realize the room is no longer built for their comfort. Judy raises her chin and asks the plaintiff to step forward. He walks with careful steps, not out of fear, but out of respect for the moment unfolding. He stands where Judy instructs him, hands clasped, eyes steady. Karen watches him with a glare sharp enough to cut, but her confidence is already beginning to flicker like a candle in a draft. Tell me, Judy says, in your own words, what brought us here? The plaintiff inhales slowly, then begins. His voice is quiet but steady, shaped not by anger but by exhaustion. He explains the repairs she promised, the costs she refused to pay, the messages she ignored, the insults she delivered when he asked to be treated fairly. Karen rolls her eyes. Judy notices. So does the audience. But the plaintiff continues, describing nights spent trying to fix what Karen had broken, both in property and peace. He never raises his voice. He does not need to. The truth has a volume of its own. When he finishes, he steps back, the weight lifting slightly from his shoulders. Karen lets out a short laugh. That is dramatic, she mutters, waving a dismissive hand. He is exaggerating. People exaggerate to get sympathy. Judy looks at her for a long, unblinking moment. Then she opens the file. The first page flips over. Then another. The rustle of paper echoes like distant thunder rolling in. Karen leans forward, eyes narrowing as if proximity might change what is written inside. But nothing in that file bends to her will. Nothing ever did. Judy's expression changes. Not anger, not shock, just a calm, surgical certainty. She lifts a single sheet, the corner pinched between her fingers. Ms. Harper, she says, do you recognize this document? Karen squints. It is just an estimate, she replies, waving her hand again. People make mistakes. Judy tilts the page toward the courtroom lights. This is not a mistake, she says quietly. Karen's breath catches. The plaintiff's eyes widen. The bailiff steps even closer. On the page is the truth Karen hoped would never surface. Altered numbers, mismatched handwriting, dates that contradict every word she has spoken. Her casual confidence fractures. Her shoulders stiffen. Her smirk begins to fade. Judy places the document down slowly, her gaze fixed on Karen with chilling precision. Lying is one thing, she says, but falsifying evidence is another. The room goes silent. Too silent. Judy reaches deeper into the file, pulls out a second document and says, there is something else you will need to explain, and this one is worse. The courtroom feels smaller now, not physically, but emotionally, like the walls have inched closer, drawn by the weight of what Judge Judy has just revealed. Karen sits perfectly still, but her stillness is not confidence anymore. It is containment. A quiet panic held together by a single, trembling thread. Judge Judy lifts the second document, the paper crisp and damning beneath the courtroom lights. Ms. Harper, she says calmly, this signature does not match your original form. Karen's throat tightens. She opens her mouth, but no sound comes out at first. Finally, she forces a laugh, thin, brittle. There must be some misunderstanding. People sign things differently all the time. Judy does not smile. Not this differently. The bailiff moves another step forward. It is subtle, but it says everything. The court is preparing for more fallout. The plaintiff watches Karen with a mix of disbelief and weary validation. For the first time today, he looks less like a victim and more like someone witnessing the truth catch up to the person who has been running from it for far too long. Karen shifts in her chair. Her confidence leaks through her expression, slowly at first, then all at once. She starts talking too quickly, words tumbling over each other like they are trying to escape before she can think them through. "I did not alter anything," she insists. "I just fixed the format, cleaned it up. I was trying to help move things along, make your job easier." The courtroom reacts with a quiet ripple of disbelief. Someone in the audience exhales sharply. Even the cameras seem to adjust in closer, capturing the way her facade is beginning to crumble. Judy turns a page. "Then, explain this estimate," she says. "The numbers are inflated by more than $2,000. And your handwriting matches only the altered sections." Karen blinks. Too fast, too often. That is subjective. Maybe it looks similar, but—" "Ms. Harper," Judy interrupts, voice soft but devastating. "You are lying." The words hit like a hammer wrapped in velvet, quiet but final. Karen's breath shakes. She looks around wildly, as if searching for someone, anyone, who might confirm her version of reality. But there is no lifeline, no ally, no applause for the performance she is losing control of. The plaintiff clears his throat softly. "Your Honor," he says, "there is something else she did." Karen turns on him, eyes sharp. "Do not start with that," she snaps, tone cracking. "You know exactly why—" "Ms. Harper," Judy cuts in again, "control yourself." Karen freezes. A single tear threatens, then retreats just as quickly, swallowed by pride she refuses to release. Judy sets the documents aside. "Bailiff," she says, "bring me the sealed envelope from this morning." Karen's head snaps toward the bench. Her face drains of color. The bailiff retrieves a second envelope, thicker, older, sealed with official tape, and places it before the judge. For the first time, Karen's mask breaks completely. Her hands tighten on the edge of the table. Her breath stutters. Judge Judy taps the envelope once and says, "Inside this is something you denied existed. Let us see the truth." The envelope sits on the bench like a living thing, not large, not flashy, but heavy, with a truth that has waited patiently for its moment to be seen. Judge Judy rests 2 fingers on it, not opening it yet. The courtroom goes still, as if the oxygen has thinned, as if the room itself understands that whatever lies inside will not simply bruise Karen's case, it will break it open. Karen swallows hard. Her eyes dart from the envelope to the judge, then to the bailiff, then back again, as if tracking the exits in a room she suddenly realizes has none. "Ms. Harper," Judy says quietly, "you insisted during intake that these messages did not exist." Karen forces a laugh, but it dies halfway out of her throat. "I said I did not remember them," she replies. "People forget things. It happens." "People forget birthdays," Judy answers. "They do not forget threats." The plaintiff looks down at his hands, shoulders tightening with the memory of those messages, messages he never wanted to read, messages that turned a simple dispute into a quiet war he did not ask for. Judy breaks the seal. The sound is louder this time, sharper, closer to a crack. She pulls out a neat stack of printed screenshots. Their edges are highlighted, dates circled, digital scars of conversations that were never meant to see the light of justice. Karen's composure collapses one breath at a time. Judy lifts the first page. "Let us begin," she says, "with this message." She reads aloud, "If you push this, you will regret it. I promise you that." The plaintiff flinches. Karen closes her eyes for a moment, long enough for fear to surface before she forces it back down. "That was taken out of context," she says quickly. "He was being unreasonable. I was just expressing frustration." Judy sets the page down. Her silence is louder than the message itself. Then she lifts the second page, another message, longer, colder, A message where Karen offers to make the whole problem disappear if the plaintiff drops the complaint. A message signed with her initials. Karen's voice shakes. That is not a bribe. I was negotiating. Judy leans forward slightly. When you offer money in exchange for silence, it is not negotiation. It is coercion. Karen looks around again, searching for sympathy that does not exist. Her breath shortens. Her hands tremble. Her smile, once glued in place, begins to peel away at the edges. Judy sets the stack aside and folds her hands. What concerns me most, she says, is that you denied these messages existed. You looked directly at this court and insisted they were fabricated. Karen does not answer. She cannot. The room feels colder than before, as if every lie Karen told has lowered the temperature degree by degree. Judy nods to the bailiff. There is one more thing. He steps forward with a smaller envelope, still sealed, marked with the plaintiff's name. Karen grips the table, knuckles white. Inside, Judy says, tapping the envelope with a measured calm, is the message where you revealed your real motive. Karen's breath stops. Judge Judy holds the envelope up to the light and says, "This changes the entire case." Desperation does not arrive loudly. It creeps in, quiet, shaky, uninvited. Karen sits rigid at the table, her breath unsteady, her fingers pressed flat against the polished wood as if the surface might steady her. It does not. Nothing in this room steadies her now. The envelope in Judge Judy's hand has already drained the last of her confidence, leaving only the panic she can no longer hide. Judge Judy turns the sealed envelope over once, examining it the way a surgeon examines a scalpel before cutting. The courtroom waits. Even the cameras pause, reframing their angles to capture the precise moment where bravado gives way to unraveling. Karen breaks first. "Your Honor, none of this is what it looks like," she blurts, voice too loud, too fast, as if rushing might outrun the truth. People misunderstand tone over text. You know how that is. I was stressed. Anyone would have said things they did not mean. Judy does not blink. Ms. Harper, stress does not create threats. People do. Karen swallows hard. Her shoulders rise and fall in quick, uneven breaths. She tries to steady her voice, but it wavers like a weak flame. "He was lying about me," she insists, pointing at the plaintiff with a trembling hand. "Trying to make me look bad. I had to defend myself. You cannot blame me for that." The plaintiff remains still. He does not shout back. He does not defend himself. His silence becomes a witness of its own. Karen hates the silence. It makes her unravel faster. "You do not understand," she continues, words spilling out in jagged bursts. "He has always wanted something from me, attention, sympathy, money, whatever works. Now he is painting himself like a victim, and I am the one who has to suffer." Judge Judy leans back slightly, her expression untouched by Karen's frantic performance. "If you believe the plaintiff is manipulating the situation," she says calmly, "why did you attempt to bribe him into ending the case?" Karen freezes. The question lands like a sudden drop from a great height. She stammers, I did not bribe him. I was offering a compromise." "Compromise," Judy repeats slowly, the word flat and cold. "You used threats, Ms. Harper. You used money. You used pressure. That is not compromise. That is coercion." Karen's eyes dart around the room again, searching for an ally, a sympathetic glance, a face that is not seeing her with disappointment or disdain. But the room has turned against her. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. Her voice shrinks. "I just wanted this to go away." Judy sets the envelope down deliberately. The soft tap echoes like a final verdict waiting to drop. The bailiff steps forward. Karen's breath hitches. "Before I open this," Judy says, "there is something the court needs to hear, something that came in moments ago." A staff member enters through the side door, urgency written in her posture. She carries a slip of paper, folded and sealed. Judy accepts it, eyes narrowing as she reads the first line. Karen grips the table again, harder, tighter, as though bracing for impact. Judy looks up, her expression darkening. "Ms. Harper," she says, "you did not just bribe one person today. You attempted to bribe someone else as well. The courtroom freezes. Not physically, no one rises, no one gasps, but emotionally, everything stops moving the moment Judge Judy speaks those words. You attempted to bribe someone else as well. Karen's lips part, but nothing comes out. The silence that follows is not empty. It has shape, weight, temperature. It presses against every person in the room, forcing them to absorb the gravity of what Judy has just revealed. Judy lifts the slip of paper again, her eyes scanning its lines with measured precision. This statement, she says, was given less than 10 minutes ago by a production assistant. Karen flinches. A sharp, involuntary movement. Guilt in motion. The audience leans in as the judge continues. It describes your interaction with him this morning. You told him you wanted today's outcome guaranteed. Then you offered him money. More than what was in the envelope you slid across my bench. The plaintiff closes his eyes, a mix of relief and sorrow flickering across his face. He never wanted this spectacle. He only wanted the truth. But now the truth is swallowing the courtroom whole. Karen forces air into her lungs. That is not accurate, she blurts. Her voice cracks. He misunderstood. I was asking about procedure, not... Ms. Harper. Judy's voice slices clean through the lie. Procedure does not cost $8,000 in cash. Karen's face drains of color. Her composure splinters further, pieces falling away one expression at a time. Fear, anger, disbelief. Then the hollow realization that denial is no longer a survival strategy. The bailiff steps closer again, slow and steady. Even the cameras adjust, zooming in with the quiet instinct of documentary predators circling a wounded animal. Judy folds her hands. Bribery is bad enough, she says. But repeated bribery? That tells me something very specific about you. Karen swallows. Her voice emerges thin. And what is that supposed to mean? That you did not make a mistake, Judy replies. You made a plan. The words detonate softly, not loud, but devastating. Karen shakes her head, rapid and desperate. I did not plan anything. I was trying to keep things simple. I was trying to make this easier for everyone. For everyone, Judy repeats. Or for yourself. Karen cannot answer. She tries. Her jaw moves, her throat tightens. But nothing coherent forms. Her silence becomes its own confession. Judy looks toward the plaintiff. Has she ever attempted to offer you money before today? He hesitates, then nods. Twice, Your Honor. She told me to name my price if I dropped the claim. Karen snaps. That was not a bribe. It was, Judy interrupts, and now it forms a pattern. Karen presses both hands against her temples, as if trying to hold her crumbling world together. I did not mean for any of this to happen, she whispers. But it is too late. The pattern is clear. The room knows it. She knows it. Judge Judy reaches behind the bench. A courtroom assistant steps forward and hands her a tablet. The screen is dark for a moment. Then it flickers to life. Judy holds it up. Ms. Harper, she says, voice quiet but seismic. There is footage of your conversation with the production assistant. Karen's eyes widen, terror blooming deep behind them. Judy presses play. The footage appears, grainy, undeniable, and Karen's voice fills the courtroom. The screen glows to life with a faint hum, washing the courtroom in a pale, trembling light. Every face turns toward it as if gravity itself has shifted. The footage begins without sound at first, just grainy hallway images, time-stamped, impersonal, cold. Karen stands in the frame, shoulders back, confidence radiating from her like heat. Judge Judy raises the volume, and the room hears it. Karen's voice fills the courtroom, crisp through the speakers. I want a guarantee. I am willing to pay for one. The production assistant in the footage stiffens. He looks around nervously, glancing toward the cameras he knows are always rolling. Ma'am, I cannot... Karen steps closer in the recording, lowering her voice but not her arrogance. I have $10,000 in cash. I can give you more. Just make today go my way. The courtroom becomes silent in a way that feels unnatural. No shifting, no coughing, no whispers. Just the hollow ring of truth, forcing everyone to listen. Karen stares at the screen, horrified. That is not, I was not serious. He twisted my words. Judy lifts her hand, cutting off the excuses. The footage continues. Karen leans in closer to the assistant on screen. If the judge likes you, then you can influence things, right? A thin, sharp laugh escapes her. Everyone has a price. The assistant steps back in the clip, clearly uncomfortable. That is illegal, ma'am. You need to stop. Karen's tone changes, subtle, but unmistakably threatening. If this case does not end today, I will make sure you regret not helping me. The clip ends. The silence afterward is heavier than any words could be. Even the cameras seem to hesitate, unsure whether to capture the devastation or give the room space to breathe. Karen's voice is barely audible. That is edited. He edited that. He hates me. You cannot trust. Stop. Judy's voice is quiet, not angry. Quiet. And that quiet slices deeper than shouting ever could. Ms. Harper, she says, leaning forward, I have presided over thousands of cases. I have seen people lie in spectacular ways, but rarely do they record themselves doing it. Karen's mouth opens, then closes, the words collapsing before they reach air. The plaintiff looks at her with something resembling sorrow, the kind of sorrow people feel when witnessing someone crumble under the weight of their own choices. Judy folds her hands. What we saw was not confusion, it was not misunderstanding, it was bribery, it was coercion, and it was intentional. Karen grips the table so tightly her knuckles turn white. Her entire body trembles with panic she cannot outrun, cannot mask, cannot charm away. Your Honor, please, she whispers. But Judy does not soften. There is still one more piece of evidence, she says. Karen's head snaps upward. The bailiff steps forward, holding a new document, a written statement from the assistant. Karen shakes her head violently. No, please, no more. But Judy takes the paper, and as she reads the first line, her expression hardens. Ms. Harper, Judy says, eyes locked on her, according to this statement, your intentions were far more serious than you have admitted. Do you believe remorse should ever erase guilt, or does justice demand consequences no matter what someone feels afterward? Judge Judy lowers the assistant's written statement, but her eyes stay fixed on Karen, not with anger, not even disappointment. Something colder, something that says she has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Ms. Harper, Judy begins, her voice steady, I want you to explain this. She taps the paper once. The sound echoes like a heartbeat, slow and deliberate. Karen swallows, but the breath trembles inside her. I do not know what he wrote, but he is exaggerating. People love to play victim around me. They always have. Her defense does not land. It does not even reach the air. Judy opens the file again, this time to a page marked with a yellow tab. A page Karen clearly did not expect to reappear. This, Judy says, holding it up, is from a civil dispute 3 years ago. You submitted a falsified estimate then as well. And, according to the report, you attempted to privately reach a deal with the witness. A soft murmur rushes through the audience. Karen blinks rapidly. That was different. That was... Your Honor, people twist things. I only changed the numbers because the original estimate was sloppy. I was helping. Judy's gaze does not move. You helped yourself. Karen's face tightens, her voice falling into a higher pitch. Everyone lies a little. Everyone adjusts things. Why is everyone acting like I am some kind of criminal? The plaintiff looks down, exhaling slowly. Not out of victory, but out of the exhaustion of being dragged through someone else's self-deception. Judy flips another page. Let us talk about the message you sent the plaintiff, she says. The one where you said you would ruin him publicly if he did not drop his claim. Karen's eyes widen. That message, I meant that as a warning, not a threat. A warning, Judy repeats. And what do you believe a warning to ruin someone publicly implies? Karen stares forward, unable to answer. Her breathing hitches. Her composure continues to buckle, one cracked seam at a time. Then Judy softens her tone. Not kindly, but with surgical precision. What were you afraid of, Ms. Harper? Karen's mask slips, just enough for the truth, or something close to it, to leak through. I just did not want to look stupid, she whispers. This whole thing, it spiraled. I did not want to be embarrassed. I thought if I controlled the outcome, I could keep my reputation intact. The plaintiff looks up slowly. You threatened me because you were afraid of being embarrassed? Karen turns toward him, eyes red. You were making me look bad. I was asking you to pay for the damages, he replies quietly. That is all. Her face collapses in on itself. Fear, anger, shame, all fighting for dominance. Judy closes the folder. For years, she says, you have manipulated situations instead of accepting responsibility. Every lie you told was not about money, it was about control. Karen tries to breathe, but her breaths come shallow, uneven, as if the truth itself is stealing air from her lungs. And now, Judy continues, we are going to address the statement you wrote when you filed this case. Karen's head snaps up. No, Your Honor, please. Judy lifts Karen's original intake form and says, this is where the real story begins. Karen watches the intake form in Judge Judy's hand as if it were a weapon, and in a way, it is. The courtroom lighting shifts, not physically, but perceptually, harsher, clearer, exposing every crack in Karen's composure. She sits frozen, shoulders stiff, fingers clutching the table so tightly that the tips go pale. Her eyes dart between the judge, the bailiff, and the plaintiff, as though searching for a reality where this moment is not happening. Judy holds the form delicately, like something fragile but undeniably powerful. This, she says, tapping the top corner, is what you wrote when you filed this case, before any testimony, before today's bribe, before all of it. Karen squeezes her eyes shut, whispering under her breath, please do not read it. Please. But Judy reads anyway. In your own handwriting, you stated that the plaintiff humiliated you and that you intended to prove a point. You also wrote that you were prepared to do whatever is necessary to win. The last line hits the room like a dropped brick. Karen shakes her head rapidly. I did not mean it literally. People exaggerate when they are upset. I was venting. Just venting. You cannot take that seriously. But Judy does not break eye contact, and Karen begins to fold. Her voice fractures. He made fun of me, Your Honor. He laughed at me. He said I always want things my way. He embarrassed me in front of people. I could not let that stand. The plaintiff turns, meeting her eyes with a look of surprise. Not anger, not triumph. Just surprise at hearing her speak plainly for the first time. I did not laugh at you, he says quietly. I told you the repair cost was fair. You shouted at me in the store. Karen swallows, hard. Her lower lip trembles. Judge Judy leans back, observing her with the sharp perception of someone who has seen countless implosions before. But this one feels different. This one feels deeply rooted. Ms. Harper, Judy says, her tone softer but still unwavering, you have been fighting to protect an image, not the truth. Every action you took, lying, threatening, bribing, was to maintain the illusion that you were in control. Karen's shoulders collapse inward. I had to, she whispers. If I lose, it means I was wrong. And I cannot be wrong. People do not respect me when I am wrong. The room absorbs this, not with judgment, with recognition, because at last, the truth is bleeding through. Karen's voice grows small. I did not want to feel powerless. Not again. Something in the plaintiff softens. He watches her with a quiet empathy, the kind that comes from unexpectedly seeing the frightened human beneath the combative shell. Judy folds the intake form carefully. Then she places it on the bench with deliberate precision. Ms. Harper, she says, you did not come here for justice. You came here for something else entirely. Karen's breath catches. She grips the table to steady herself. Judy continues, and the court has just received confirmation of your motive from an outside source. Karen's head jerks up, horrified. From what source? Judy does not answer immediately. She nods to the bailiff. He approaches, holding an envelope marked with the studio's seal. Karen's lips part in a silent plea. Judy tears the envelope open and says, "This information changes the meaning of everything you have done." The envelope in Judge Judy's hand looks ordinary, plain, white, sealed at the edges with studio tape, but its presence electrifies the room. Karen's eyes lock on it with the desperation of someone watching the last piece of their world hover above a cliff's edge. Judy unfolds the letter inside with deliberate care, her face calm, unreadable. Karen's breathing turns shallow. The plaintiff shifts in his seat, bracing for whatever truth is about to surface. Finally, Judy speaks. "This," she says, lifting the letter slightly, "is a statement from the studio's audience coordinator. She says you approached her 2 weeks ago before you even filed this case, asking how to get more camera focus during taping." A ripple moves through the courtroom. Karen's face blanches. Judy continues. "You told her you wanted to make an impression. Her supervisor reports that you also asked whether dramatic behavior would increase your airtime." Karen's jaw trembles. "That is not... I was just curious. People get nervous about being on camera. I wanted to know what to expect." Judy studies her. "You were not nervous. You were plotting." Karen flinches as though struck. The plaintiff watches with a mix of confusion and sorrow. "So, all of this was for attention?" Karen's gaze snaps toward him, her voice trembling with raw emotion. "No, I mean, yes, no, I do not know." Her head drops into her hands. "I just needed something to go right for once, something where I was not the one being ignored." Silence folds over the courtroom, softer this time, but unbearably heavy. Karen lifts her face again. The walls around her ego have crumbled, leaving a woman who suddenly looks smaller, tired, and exposed. "My mother barely speaks to me," she says quietly, not quite looking at anyone. "My friends, they roll their eyes when I talk. People treat me like I am dramatic, difficult, too much. I thought if I did something bold, maybe people would finally pay attention." Her voice cracks, not from fear, from the weight of finally telling the truth she tried so hard to bury. "I never meant for it to go this far," she whispers. "I just wanted to matter." The plaintiff's expression softens, not in forgiveness, but in recognition of pain. Judy notices. "So you manipulated the plaintiff," Judy says. "You threatened him, bribed him, falsified documents, because you were afraid of being unseen." Karen winces, but she does not deny it. Her voice is barely audible. "I thought if I won here, if I looked powerful on television, maybe the rest of my life would feel less empty." The courtroom absorbs this confession, every person sensing the sincerity tangled with the consequences. The truth has finally surfaced, but it is too late to shield her from what comes next. Judge Judy folds her hands. "Ms. Harper," she says, "you have not simply lied to the court. You have lied to yourself." Karen's eyes glisten with tears she can no longer hold back. "This case is no longer about a dispute," Judy continues. "It is about accountability." Then she reaches for something beneath the bench, a thicker document, a printed transcript. Karen freezes. "What is that?" she whispers. Judy lifts it slowly. "This," she says, "is the studio's internal report on your behavior leading up to this case." Karen's breath stutters, fear hollowing out her voice. Judy opens the report and says, "And it reveals the reason you pursued this case in the first place." Judge Judy turns the pages of the internal studio report with slow, deliberate movements. Each page seems to grow heavier, as if the paper itself absorbs the weight of Karen's choices. The courtroom is silent, not out of shock anymore, but out of something deeper, an understanding that they are no longer watching a legal dispute, but a reckoning. Karen sits motionless, shoulders curled inward, her earlier bravado stripped away entirely. The report in Judy's hands is not loud. It does not accuse. It simply reveals. "According to this," Judy says, her voice calm but unyielding, "you did not pursue this case because you felt wronged. You pursued it because you believed it would elevate your presence and show people you cannot be pushed around. Karen closes her eyes. A tear slips down her cheek, silent and unannounced. Judy continues. You were seen rehearsing emotional reactions in the waiting area. You asked staff how to create a moment the cameras would not miss. You asked repeatedly whether dramatic confrontations led to more airtime. Each detail lands like a soft blow, quiet, but bruising. Karen's voice emerges in a whisper. I was scared. I thought if I made myself big enough, loud enough, maybe people would stop overlooking me. The plaintiff watches her with a mixture of empathy and disbelief. Empathy for the vulnerability now spilling out, disbelief at the lengths she went to in order to feel seen. Ms. Harper, he says gently, you did not need to do any of this. I never wanted to fight you, I just wanted fairness. Karen turns toward him, tears streaking her face. Fairness? I did not even know what that felt like anymore. Judge Judy leans forward. Accountability is not cruelty, she says softly. It is clarity. Karen wipes her eyes with the back of her hand, her voice trembling. I know I ruined everything. I know I made terrible choices. I thought if I won, if I walked out of here looking victorious, it would fix something inside me. I thought respect was something you could force. Judy shakes her head, slow and firm. Respect is earned. Manipulation is not strength, Ms. Harper. It is fear pretending to be strength. Karen collapses further into her seat, as though the truth itself has gravity she cannot stand against. The audience does not judge her now. They simply witness her unraveling, the painful realization that punishment is not what hurts the most. What hurts the most is seeing yourself clearly for the first time. Judy sets the studio report aside. Her tone shifts, not harsh, but resolute. Before I issue my decision, I want to ask you something. Karen looks up, eyes red, breath unsteady. If today had gone the way you imagined, Judy asks, what were you planning to do with that victory? Karen's lips part. The answer forms slowly, painfully. I wanted people to admire me, she whispers. I wanted to feel important, and for once, I wanted my life to look like it was under control. The honesty hangs in the air, fragile, heartbreaking, unmistakably real. Judy nods once, then she reaches for the verdict pad. Karen stiffens, her breath stops. Judy lifts her pen and says, this will not be a small number. The courtroom is so still, it feels suspended in time. Even the air seems to wait as Judge Judy lifts her pen, the faint scratch of its metal tip brushing the verdict pad louder than any gavel strike. Karen sits frozen, hands clasped, breathing uneven. The earlier fire that fueled her arrogance has burned down into ash. Judy looks up. Her expression is calm, too calm. Ms. Harper, she begins, your actions today, and leading up to today, have demonstrated a remarkable disregard for honesty, fairness, and responsibility. Karen swallows hard. Tears blur her vision. Judy continues, each word measured with the weight of judgment and truth. You falsified evidence. You threatened the opposing party. You attempted to bribe not one, but multiple individuals. And when confronted, you lied repeatedly. Karen bows her head, shoulders trembling. This court, Judy says, does not punish mistakes. It addresses choices. She writes a number on the pad, slowly, deliberately, while the courtroom strains to see. The bailiff steps closer, watching Karen with quiet, steady concern. Judy sets the pen down. For the damages, emotional distress to the plaintiff, and the cost of your deliberate attempts to undermine the integrity of these proceedings, I am ordering you to pay. The pause stretches. Karen's breath shatters in the quiet. $50,000. The words land with the force of a collapsing building. The plaintiff's eyes widen, surprised, grateful, relieved. The audience exhales in a ripple of shock. But Karen does not move. Her hands slide from the table, falling limply into her lap. A soft, broken sound escapes her, a sound too small to be a sob, too heavy to be a breath. Her eyes stare ahead, unfocused, as though the number has struck her so hard it knocked the world out of alignment. I cannot pay that, she whispers, voice trembling like fragile glass. I do not. I cannot. Judy's tone softens just enough to be human. Ms. Harper, the cost is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to wake you. Karen blinks slowly, tears slipping through the cracks she can no longer hide. This will ruin me. No, Judy replies. Your actions did that. This ruling simply reveals what you refuse to face. The plaintiff steps forward slightly, hesitant. He does not gloat. He does not smirk. Instead, he offers her something unexpected, something she never offered him. You can come back from this, he says quietly. But only if you stop trying to control everything. Karen inhales sharply, as though the sincerity wounds her more deeply than the ruling. Judy closes her folder. One more matter, she says, turning her gaze back to Karen. You will address the court directly. Karen stiffens. I want to hear, Judy says, your final explanation for why you believed all of this was justified. Karen lifts her head, eyes red, breath shaking. Her voice gathers in her throat, raw, fractured, waiting to break free. She opens her mouth to speak, and the entire courtroom leans in, waiting for the truth she has been running from to finally surface. When someone finally faces consequences after years of avoiding them, do you feel sympathy? Or is accountability the only path forward? Karen stands slowly, as if her legs belong to a different person. Someone lighter, someone steadier, someone who has not just watched her entire world collapse in front of a national audience. Her hands grip the edge of the table for balance. Her gaze lifts toward Judge Judy, and for the first time since she walked into this courtroom, there is no smirk, no armor, no performance. Only truth, bare, heavy, unavoidable. Her voice comes out cracked. Your Honor, I thought winning would make me whole. Judy does not respond. She waits, allowing the words to rise like steam from a wound. I thought if I forced the world to see me as strong, confident, untouchable, then maybe I would start to believe it myself. Karen swallows hard, but instead I kept digging deeper and deeper into lies, into threats, into things I never imagined I could do. Her chest trembles, her voice frays. When I walked in here, I truly believed I could control everything. The cameras, the plaintiff, even you. She shakes her head, horrified by her own admission. I thought money could buy respect. I thought fear could buy silence. I thought manipulation could buy control. The plaintiff watches her with quiet, respectful stillness. But all it bought me, Karen whispers, was this. She gestures helplessly to the courtroom around her, one that once seemed like a stage, but now feels like a mirror reflecting everything she tried so hard not to face. Judge Judy leans forward, her expression no longer sharp but solemn. Ms. Harper, she says, ego is a loud companion. It convinces you that lies are easier than truth, that shortcuts are smarter than honesty, and that appearances matter more than integrity. Karen listens, tears slipping freely now. But ego, Judy continues, never tells you the cost. Karen closes her eyes, letting the words settle into the space she once filled with excuses. You came here, Judy says, searching for validation. But validation earned through deception is not validation at all. It is a debt. And debts, she taps the ruling on her desk, are always paid in full. Karen nods slowly. She understands. The plaintiff steps forward, clearing his throat gently. I hope, he says to her, that after today you will not see yourself as broken, just redirected. Karen exhales, a shaky, grateful sound. I do not know how to start over, she admits. Start with honesty, Judy replies. The courtroom falls into a profound stillness, not tense, not hostile, but reflective. The lights feel softer now, the air feels clearer. And Karen, standing amidst the remnants of her illusions, looks less like a villain and more like someone finally meeting herself without fear. Judy's final words are firm, but compassionate. Ms. Harper, dignity cannot be bought with money, fear, or attention. It is earned through humility and truth. Let today be the moment you choose a different path. Karen nods, a real nod, small but sincere. She gathers her things slowly. No dramatic exit, No final performance. Just a quiet walk toward the door, leaving behind the pieces of the person she pretended to be. The gavel strikes once, sharp, final, echoing across the room like a moral crystallized into sound. And in the hush that follows, one truth remains. Arrogance collapses under truth. Humility is what rises after.